Okay, great. Let's get started for our 6 p.m. session today on Thursday Gathering 120. So the session from 6 p.m. is Your Thoughts on Gender Equality, presented by Global Shaper Community Yokohama Hub. So I would like to pass it to you, Shinagawa, who will be moderating the session today.
Thank you, Lisa. Hi, nice to meet you all, and thank you for joining us tonight. And I'm going to share the screen for tonight's event and hope everyone can see my screen. Okay, now everyone can see? Oh, it doesn't?
I think we're about to see it.
Okay. Is working now?
Yeah. Now we can see it.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. So tonight's event about Venture Cafe Thursday Gathering, thank you for inviting us. And this will be the third collaboration with the Venture Cafe Tokyo with Global Shapers Community Yokohama Hub. And today, before we are starting the event, 2 announcements. First one, share your comments and questions via the chat so that we can see your comments and a question and I'll answer some of them. And second one is please mute yourself so that everyone can hear the panelists clearly. So those 2 simple announcements. And today we have 7 agenda. First one is a brief introduction, and we have the presentation by each panelist. And we have 3 discussion topics. And lastly, we have a Q&As and a closing. So here's the introduction. My name is Yu, and I am the founder of Annaho Inc., which is providing a training program for the Japanese business professional to be inclusive leaders. And I am also the curator, which is representative of the Global Shapers Community Yokohama Hub. And I am also the selected as one of the fellow of the Japanese Women's Leadership Initiative. So today I will moderate the topic as a Global Shapers community. And I want to explain a little bit about the Global Shapers community. So as of today, we have almost 10,000 shapers around the world. We have 431 hubs across 148 countries. And we all are the young network who are passionate and passionate to making a social impact. So what kind of impact we are creating we have 3 main focusing area. One is climate environment, and second one is education and employment. And third one is equity and inclusion. Maybe you are familiar with sustainable development goals called SDGs. And we are having a similar goals and targets comparing to our impact area. So we have 2 events in the past with the Venture Cafe Tokyo. And first one was climate change. And second one is about technology for society. So tonight's topic is your thoughts on gender equality. How many of you have read or heard about this Global Gender Gap Report 2020 published by World Economic Forum? Thank you. And do you know where does Japan rank in this ranking? Maybe I can see some chat. Okay. Maybe some of them already know, but actually Japan is ranked 121st. Oh, Roy, it's close. 121st was the answer. So to see this reality, I like to invite 3 amazing shapers from our community, Ankita. Yes, Ankita. And Miho.
Hello. Hi. Good to see you all.
And Roy. Okay. So those 3 panelists having their own unique experience in this gender equality issues. So I want to know more about their experiences and their aspirations on this agenda. So can we start the presentation?
Sure. Do you want?
Ankita, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have 7 minutes to present, okay?
Yeah. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you so much, you, for the kind introduction. And thank you so much, Venture Cafe, for giving us this opportunity. I'm very happy and humbled to be here to be talking about gender equality. Let me begin by introducing myself. I'm originally from India, but I've been living in Japan for past 7.5 years now, but I'm still learning my way through, Japanese language, Japanese culture, and every day is a new experience. Professionally, I am in biotechnology field, but I equally share the passion about gender equality and quality education. I'm currently working as a senior business development associate in Helios, that's a regenerative medicine company. I graduated from University of Tokyo, and I've recently co-founded an NPO in India with regards to biotech, that is India Biotech Leaders of Tomorrow, or IBLOT. I have a hobby of traveling. I think traveling is the key for discovering new things. And I usually chronicle all my journeys in my Instagram channel, so please check that out. Also, as you mentioned, I'm a founder of a gender equality project called Challenging Gender Stereotypes. So this is, again, a Global Shapers Yokohama Hub initiative. And what is this project all about? So basically, the project is to introduce or raise awareness about the gender bias that is both conscious and unconscious in the society. We believe that, men can be really good caretakers and women can be equally good, and people from pride community can equally contribute, and gender is not the key area, or the key should not be the key point to characterize people. It should be the skills, not the gender. So stereotyping on gender actually brings a lot of harm, and we would like to raise awareness about it and make society a more inclusive for all. This platform has three goals. First, as I mentioned, to bring awareness about different initiatives that are already existing in the gender equality space. Covering stories of different local role models, different mentors in the gender equality space, different NPOs that are doing amazing work, whether it is in the area of creating gender equality in STEM, in business, or in other areas as well. Also, we are trying to launch a community where everybody can share their stories, and trying to create a safe space where people can talk about their stories, or talk about their journeys or their struggles with regards to gender equality. The mission, again, for this project is to create awareness and hopefully bring change in mindset about gender equality, that people should not be judged or should not be put in a box on the basis of their gender, but should be given equal opportunities on the basis of the skills that they have. The four pillars that we work in this project are on gender equality, quality education, decent work and economic growth, and reduced inequalities. We have four-way key approaches. First is comprehending, basically just to understand where the gender gap is, why the gender gap is it because of the social norm? Do people actually realize that there is a gender inequality in the space that they are working, and can they do something to change it? Next step is connecting. So connecting people and trying to initiate a conversation where everybody can freely express themselves. Communicating, telling stories about the local role models which are already making differences, amazing NPOs and public and private projects that are trying to make difference in the gender equality area. And finally, and hopefully, challenging the mindset and changing the mindset towards bringing everybody on the same board when it comes to gender equality. So as I mentioned, comprehending includes data collection and understanding the key gaps in the area of gender equality. So we are currently running the series called What is Gender Equality? What is Gender Stereotyping? What are the harms? We are currently also studying the key gaps that exist in the society specifically to Japan and what are the causes behind that. For example, we recently found this data where in the span of 5 years, actually 1 million women leave their jobs, with respect to 13,000 men leaving their jobs. So 1 million is huge number. And out of this 1 million women, only 30% are able to go back to their jobs. So 700,000 women just, never come back to their jobs. And this is just, how to say, this creates a huge gap of resources just not getting properly, optimally utilized. Another thing that we found out is that in Japan specifically, 80.7% businesses are owned by men, and only 19.3% percentage of businesses are owned by women. So combining these two data points, we actually found an NPO and had our first event around creating financial independence. So we thought that, okay, there is a gap, and then there is an NPO which works around fulfilling this gap. And we brought the two to initiate a conversation. So this is the model of our project. We are trying to understand the gap. We are trying to find the relevant resources that, that can help people to overcome those barriers and trying to connect the two. Also, we bring awareness by highlighting local role models, amazing NPOs and public and private projects. Also, we are about to launch our FB Facebook group community. So in the end, I would just like to say that if you're interested in gender equality, if you're passionate about gender equality, if you would like to know more about gender equality, if you like to contribute in gender equality, please consider joining our initiative, and we would love to have you there. That's all from my end. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Ankita. You are almost just 7 minutes. Thank you very much for your time management. And thank you for sharing the interesting statistics. So I want to move to the Miho to present. But before then, please use your chat box to share your comments or the questions. We are just go through without questions time for all panelists. So please do not, before you forget what to ask, please use your chat box to share. Okay, so I'm gonna share the screen again. And okay, can you see this?
Yes, we can see.
So Miho, you have 7 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you and VC Tokyo for having us here. My name is Miho. I'm a co-founder of Zero Ichi Joshi. It's an initiative for training female university students in Japan. We've been doing this for 3 years now, and it's in our 4th year. Just a quick introduction of myself. My day job is a management consultant at McKinsey & Company in Japan. While I do normal consulting, management consulting, I also take part in the company's All-In initiative, which is an initiative to promote gender equality. Maybe your presentation is. While you is working on the presentation slides. So I work on All-In initiative. We specifically focus on why there is a lack of the conversion between non-managers to managers. We call this a broken rug as opposed to glass ceiling. So what we found out through our global survey is that the global ceiling, which is the number of executives or like how much women can promote themselves, exceed expectations, this is less and less becoming a problem. And more of the problem is in the broken rug. So a lot of females, especially in Japan, are less motivated to become managers from non-managers when compared to men. So I've been working on that in my professional capacity. I've been part of the Global Shapers community from 2015, so I'm one of the longer history members. And I also love Hawaii, as I mentioned here. I lived there when I was a kid, and this impacted me very personally to become interested in diversity. In Hawaii, where a lot of races, ethnicities live together, I experienced my childhood there. Coming to Japan at second year, I think, of elementary school, I felt like I couldn't fit, and I was criticized of being different. So I saw on one hand, there's a diverse community that was happy. I was happy being different. And the other hand, that when I came to Japan, there was this big pressure about conforming to a specific stereotype, especially as a girl, or even as a Japanese. I naturally love beaches and contemporary art, which is also, I think, reflects diversity. So moving on to introducing what initiative I've been working on. 01 Joshi is an initiative to create girls, develop girls to be equipped to have the 01 mindset. So to create something from scratch and to be owning their life and career. So basically we get 20 to 30 female university students every year, and we train them and connect them together to promote gender equality. So there's 3 parts of the program. We call it will, drive, and ownership. These are the 3 things we think theoretically important for them to own their career and their life paths. The first part is will. So we try to equip them to reflect and tell a story of who you want to become, who you are. So we reflect with a lot of supporters and coaches who are working already in respective worlds. We coach them to think about what their values are, what their paths are, what their strengths and what they want to develop and what do they want to become. And the important thing is that we try to tell them you don't need to have a 100% answer there. Will is something that would change over time. And the important thing is that you try to find something that you're passionate about and you tell the story in order to connect with other people. The other part is more practical. Drive is a part where we try to equip them with ideation and how to act within a team based on insights and passions. So we teach them design thinking, and we teach them logical thinking. We teach them how to facilitate a discussion, how to separate facts from insights. We also collaborate with local and global businesses, such as Shiseido and human resource companies, in order to create a product or a service within a couple of months. So they actually experience presenting. And I'm very inspired every time what type of ideas they come up with. But yes, we try to equip them with very practical skills, but at the same time try to immerse them through the experience of a team working spirit. The third part is ownership. So we try to introduce them to a very wide range of careers and life opportunities. It could be within a large organization, it could be in a nonprofit organization. We try to match them with entrepreneurs. And try to give them the courage to become the first person. So 01 means you can become the first person. You don't need to be scared, even though you're you don't have anyone that's doing what you think you want to do. And we also equip them with trying to think of different concepts. For example, when a lot of university students want to work globally, but we try to ask them, what is global? Is it the region? Is it the place that you're working? Is it the team? Is it the language? What is global for you? So we try to have, personal views and try to get introduce them to different ways of thinking what they want in terms of career. Okay, am I keeping up with the time? Okay, great.
One more minute, okay.
Okay, great. So can you go one back? The previous slide. And I love how, I don't know why my numbers came up with a lot of digits, but so we're partnering with the local government. So they funded us for 3 years. We partner with media like Toyo Keizai Shinpo. And we, as I mentioned, we partner with global and local businesses. We have a lot of entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs that support them for coaching. And we do have a lot of mentors and coaches that support us in this summer program. So it's actually a 2-month to 3-month program, depending on the year. And we have a lot of partners that support these female university students. And as for the impact in the next page, I'm sorry about the numbers, but we do track how they change in terms of will, drive, and ownership. So how they think, they perceive themselves. So can they tell the story that who they want to become? Are they taking actions? Are they confident enough? And do they know a wide range of opportunities for work? So that would be my introduction. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for sharing your project. And Roy, are you ready to share? But maybe you are trying to share the screen before. I also wants to add the Miho's 01 Joshi. Maybe the number this project created is really clearly that they made a change to the female university students, but I can also tell how their behavioral changed. Some of them started their own job, or some of them decided to challenge working in the startups as an internship opportunity, or
yes.
They are doing so many, how can I say, I can just inspired by their graduate.
Thank you. Thank you, Yu. So yes, just very quickly, we have had entrepreneurs themselves. They worked in UN, they worked in large corporates and tried to initiate what they have a lot of individual projects that we see over the years. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing the amazing project. So I'd like to move to Roy to present.
All right, can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right, 7 minutes. Here you go. So hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a great pleasure. My name is Roy. I'm originally from Cupertino, California. When I first came to Japan in 2013 through a homestay program. And actually that homestay program was one of the biggest reasons I got interested in gender issues in Japan, because I actually stayed at a very, very conservative traditional household in Inaka, Japan, up in Akita Prefecture. And there, I stayed with a very traditional family with very traditional gender dynamics, where, we would sit at the dinner table and the dad would just keep on talking while the mom would just listen quietly. And one day at dinner, I just asked my mom, my host mom, what did she think on a topic that my dad was talking about? And she suddenly realized that nobody has ever asked for her opinion in that household ever since she got married. And that was a shock for me, because it was it was so normal for me to ask her that question, but for her, it was something that she noticed that people weren't asking her. And so I went back to the States to finish my last year of high school and decided to come to Japan for college. I studied anthropology and education in college, and graduated this year, actually. So I'm actually a fresh new graduate working as a teacher at one of the most elite single-sex prep schools in Japan. And during my free time, I enjoy onsen, matsuri, and everything that has cheese in it. see. So I want to show you a number first, 806. Can anyone guess what this number is? It has something to do with boys' schools. Japan. That's very challenging. All right. So this number is actually the number of admitted students to the University of Tokyo from the top 10 boys' schools. And just by showing you a number, you really can't tell if it's a lot or not. So I'll help put this in context. This is actually 26% of all University of Tokyo students. It's actually 31% of all male students admitted to University of Tokyo. And while female students make up roughly 17% of the student population there, this 806 number is actually 268 more than all the female students admitted to University of Tokyo in 2019. And so what I want to show here is not how few female students there are in the best college in Japan. I want to show you that how much power disproportionately these boys' schools have in churning out elites in Japan. And these are the people who are going to go to Kasumigaseki, who are going to start their own companies and have a disproportionate influence on Japanese policymaking and shaping society. And so this got me thinking, so what are these boys' school students' thoughts on gender and how do they view gender in society? And so there's actually more than enough research to show us that gender segregation, segregated education actually enforces gender stereotypes, increases mixed gender anxiety, which means that these people who go through boys' schools or girls' schools have a harder time dealing with their peers of an opposite sex, and also leads to fewer mixed gender friendships, both during their school years and later on in life. This actually also leads to them having less empathy for their peers of the opposite sex, and also leads to them less likely to believe that institutional and societal sexism actually exists. So here's an interesting mini survey that I did at my school. These are the percentage of my students who agrees to the following statements. And the first two questions actually I compared to the national survey done by the Naikakufu. So the question, gender equality is achieved. The national average for men that agrees to this sentiment is a little more than 50%, but more than 75% of my students agree to this statement. While the national average for men should work and women should stay home is around 39%, my students, more than half of them believe this statement to be true. And the last two statements are just pure stereotypes. But as you can see, more than 40% of my students believe that boys are smarter than girls, and close to 100% believe that girls are more caring than boys. So during my homework, when I asked the students, should there be more female esport players? We were doing a lesson on esports in Japan. And these are some of the things that they said. I think it really gives some insight into what they think. Females should learn foreign language, math, sports. That is useful for their future. A lot of girls don't like the fact that characters in games bleed a lot. That's why there shouldn't be more female esport players. Or male players are just too strong. They can't beat us. So that's why there shouldn't be more female players. I think these are all very interesting thoughts that teenage students have. They don't necessarily mean that they are sexist. Or so a lot of the times it's that it shows that many of these students, because they don't have female peers to interact with, is very easily misleaded into a misguided image of what the opposite sex is like. So now what? I want to introduce a project that I've been working on at my school, and it is called Gender Camp. And this actually came about because of the coronavirus. A lot of my school's camps that go abroad got canceled. So the principal actually asked me and another female teacher to create another camp for the students next year. And what we came up is this, the very first gender camp in Japan. It is going to be a week-long summer camp for 40 selected students from top boys and girls schools in Japan. And we are going to invite experts and many different people from different areas in society, and aim to create a platform and opportunity where teenagers can talk about gender safely and openly. And we are going to have discussions and activities that prompt critical thinking on topics such as feminist thought, diversity, inclusion, equity, and equality, and more. And I think that this is important for them to be exposed to these ideas early on in school while they are still forming their ideas on gender identity and their ideas on gender in society. So that's a little more than 7 minutes, but that's my brief introduction. Please feel free to ask me more questions later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm kind of shocked to share you all the numbers and your questions you make to your boys students. So thank you all the amazing panelists to sharing your own experience and what you see in the reality. So now I'd like to move to the discussion part. So there's 3 questions I'm gonna ask you all ask to the panelists. The first discussion topic is, what are some daily challenges you face, or what is the reality of the people we target? I guess like Loi mentioned some of the reality already. So I'd like to ask first to Miho about how you experience and how you see through your project about the female university students.
Thank you. So what is the challenge that I face? The largest challenge that I face is convincing them to have confidence. It's a very, very difficult topic, and they don't realize that confidence does not have logic. So there's a boy and a girl, and we often see that a lot of boys have confidence, but without logic. They think that they can do this, which I think is pretty cool. But a lot of girls just get afraid of having that non-logical confidence. So while we do coach them, this question comes back and forth about, okay, I still don't have the confidence. I'm not confident even about what I want to be. What I can do, not only what I can do. So we try to challenge this by the concept of confidence is very unnatural, but it's something that they have to start with. And once they have it, it opens up ways to communicate with others. So what the biggest impact of confidence is that you start to talk with other people. So we try to tell them about the opportunities that they have with confidence, but I think this concept is the most difficult thing that we work on.
Thank you. Can I ask one more question? That since you mentioned the biggest challenge is to get them real confidence. So yeah. How about you? Like, how did you get your confidence?
That's an interesting story. So I don't know. I realized I've read a lot of researches on confidence that show that this is not really scientific. Like, so a lot there's a research on promotion, and if you have 10 standards, a lot of men would say, hey, I'm very confident to be promoted, but I can only do 6. Women would never raise their hand until they check all the 10 boxes. So I realized that confidence is very subjective. And once I got that, I think I tried to work on it.
So you're kind of logically understand the self-confidence should be very subjective, so that you can also have your self-confidence by yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
Gaining confidence or lack of confidence is very subjective.
And do you think that kind of the less self-confidence is leading to you mentioned about the broken rag, like it's also not only the young generation, but also it's impacting to the executive or the female business professionals?
Yes, so for young female professionals, we think that's one thing. Another thing is that actually, we found out that females and males have different motivations to be promoted. Females want new challenges. They actually, when they get, how do you say, they think they are wanted, they're very motivated. As opposed to men, they think it's a responsibility, and they need to keep up, and the nuances is quite different.
That's really interesting answer, and I think that kind of that what you say now is also leading to the questions to Roy, like the how you see that your elite high school boys high school students think, how they evaluate themselves. So how do you think, Roy?
So difficulties that I face and how the reality of boys, middle school and high school students. I think the hardest thing for me from the perspective of an educator is actually how to get a message across without being preachy and without intimidating them, right? So there will be times where I'm sure not only in schools, but also in your workplace, where maybe you would see people who make misogynistic or sexist comments. And sometimes they don't mean it. Maybe it's unconscious. Maybe sometimes it may be purposeful, but either way, it's both harmful to other people and also it's not good for themselves too. But rarely do people in Japan point them out. And so a lot of these boys at my school are also not used to being pointed out that they are saying something that is inappropriate, or maybe that they are saying something that may be considered sexist to other people. And so the challenges that I face daily is one, is what is happening in front of me really happening, you know? So when students make, for example, sexist jokes or misogynist comments in front of me in Japanese, first I gotta like process, okay, is this what I think this is, right? And then after that, I have to find a way to personally communicate with them. But it really takes time, because if you're just telling them from a perspective of a teacher or an adult, they really don't like that. So you really have to establish trust. And I think this trust thing is really important. You know, I think if you establish a good relationship with this person, they are more likely to listen to what you have to say, and they are more likely to accept, not necessarily accept your opinion, but take your opinion into consideration, right? And so I guess the biggest challenge is to establish trust with my students before I start talking to them about gender and all these other stuff.
So now you're taking a time to making a like relationship with your students.
Yes. And I think it's better than some female students, female teachers pointing this out to them, because they never get pointed out these things by other male teachers. You know, a lot of teachers just laugh with them, and there's this kind of boys club kind of environment in my school. And so it's really difficult being the only one speaking out, because people treat you as that one thorn sticking out the pile.
Yeah, and you are the foreigner, so maybe they just think, oh, this like you are just like different with others.
That too. So that's why being Asian and speaking Japanese does help in that way. Yeah, help establish a connection with them. Yeah, but definitely being treated as a foreigner is also part of the difficulty.
And one quick question is like, you see any like what is the biggest differences between Japan and the US? Like I think like gender equality is also the straight like issues in the States, but how do you see the differences, especially in the education?
I think that's a huge question. I really can't answer that within a minute.
Sorry.
Because obviously the United States is a huge country. But in terms of, I think, educational policy, I think more US institutions are purposefully trying to achieve gender equality and diversity inclusion through their policy. For example, maybe trying their best to have a male-female ratio of 1-to-1, 50-50%. While in Japan, I think educational institutions really hesitate to do that because that would be seen as beneficial treatment for women, therefore against Japanese definition of equality.
Thank you very much for answering. So all the answers are really unique and interesting. So everyone can see my screen. I'd like to go to the next topic. This is about what do you imagine real gender equality to be like in 2030? So this question I want to ask Ankita, because SDGs also including the gender equality and the World Economic Forums showing kind of these kind of results. So what do you think? Like you can freely explain, you can briefly tell what you think.
Thank you for the question. Actually, there are two things. One is the hope, and another one is what is realistically can be achieved. Again, as you know, Miho and Roy both pointed out, Miho is working with a demographic of young university students, and Roy is working even with younger students. So school kids who are in school. So actually, gender equality is a very non-tangible thing. It is about perception. It is about feeling. How do you feel? Just saying that, okay, we practice gender equality in a workplace because it shows in our policy does not mean that it is actually practiced, right? And gender equality is a concept that starts from the very beginning. So coming from India, where people speak like more than 1,000 languages and people from all different religions exist together, there are a lot of cultural values that coexist. So gender equality has a lot to do with like what kind of home you are coming from, what kind of upbringing you had, what kind of experiences you have in your lifetime to develop the concept first, the understanding like what is gender equality first. It can be biased because of your personal experiences. If you are a male and your female employee got promoted just because she's a female, you might have a very, very strong bias against whenever people start speaking about gender equality. So one of the hope of from my side for 2030 would be that people become more open-minded about having a conversation around gender equality. A lot of people, as soon as you start speaking about gender equality, I often see my male colleagues thinking, oh, this is something related to women empowerment and we are not part of it. It's not like that. It's not like that. Gender equality is not equal to female empowerment. It is just because that female are on the lower end of the gender spectrum that it often conceived as women empowerment. It's not that when we talk about gender equality, it is about both male and female, as well as it is very important to mention that it is very much about the pride community. There is this huge awakening around, participation of pride community in different roles. Gender has nothing to do with the ability to do your work or to ability to understand something or ability to, achieve something. It is only your skills that would take you to where, you want to achieve or if you want to do something. But that understanding needs to be developed. And I hope that by 2030, people are more open about the idea of gender equality. They are more vocal about the idea of gender equality. So by being vocal, I mean that having the conversation, and Roy very rightly pointed out, like people who are talking often about gender equality, they come across as preachy, like, oh, I don't know what she's talking about or what he's talking about. And one category is preachy, another category is, maybe playing the victim card because something has happened to them It is more to do with their personal story. Of course, people will tell their personal stories, but rather than like pointing fingers, we should be more thinking towards the direction of how we can, solve this problem, because pointing fingers might not solve it. And the hope for 2030 is being more open-minded and being more vocal. And dream is equal representation. As we saw in the businesses in Japan, it's not even 2080. It's still 19.7. It's still 19.7. So we were like, and it's not just that, gender equality is a problem in Japan. It's a global problem. And every community has their own mindset around it, their own social norms around it. So hope is that globally we can achieve, if not 50-50, at least 30, at least 30. By 2030, at least 30.
Thank you very much for sharing that. But at least we can see some hope. And I think that what you do as the project challenging gender stereotypes, like showing the real facts and the data, is also the beginning of the start conversation and be open-minded and see the reality. So thank you very much for answering this. And last but not least, the last topic is, what do you think is the first step in improving gender equality in Japan, and how are we trying to change the reality? So before I'm going to ask to the panelists, I'd like just sharing the various initiatives happening in Global Shapers community. And actually, if you're looking for if you just Google Global Shapers community and look for the gender equality related projects, there's more than 10 projects going on. And as a World Economic Forum whole community, there's so many research and initiatives is also working. And those are 4 different first one is Push to Power, which is happening in Amsterdam hub, is like storytelling. And the second one is a New Delhi hub for the tech training for the girls in India. And Mentalk is kind of related to Lloyd's project, but gender education for raising awareness to the young males. So this is also very unique. And the last one is like We Need to Talk, is also the hubs, Istanbul hubs project, to talk about the female menstruation. This is also one of the big challenges we're facing in the gender equality. So if you are interested in what we do as a global community, maybe you can look for more detail from the website. So I want to ask again to Ankita, what do you think is the first step?
I think first step is just to develop empathy towards other genders. So when I was teenager, because the concept of gender equality starts from the day you are born. Even like, for example, for girl child, everything is pink. Nursery is pink. All the dresses are pink. Even like if you go to the shops for the toys are pink. Girls are supposed to play with Barbie. So it's a very subconscious thing, but parents will get you dolls. And if it's a guy, everything is just blue. So it starts from very, very young point. And for the longest time, I used to conceive it as, it is just oppression of women. It's not oppression of women, it's just lack of understanding because of the historical reasons. Because, the earliest men went out for hunting and women decided to stay back in cave, does not mean that women still have to stay in cave. We do not do hunting anymore. We do things on programs, we do things on laptops, and everybody and anybody can do it. It has nothing to do with gender. So I would say like the first step is developing empathy, and how you can do that is probably educating oneself first and also talking about it. So just reading different reports will not help. Discussing it with people, how do people perceive the same report is more important. The perception about gender equality is more important. So empathy and perception.
Thank you. Yeah, empathy and start communication with the people from different perspectives.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a really simple. So I want to ask Miho to answer the question.
Sure. I think it's to talk about like very practical things, and as Roy mentioned earlier, and like call out is a big thing. So what I do in my workplace is that we talk about how can we promote gender equality in everyday life or diversity in everyday life, and we always come up with, okay, let's do like a very casual call out. Like, okay, you're saying it. It's not, you do not necessarily have to be very serious, but you just say, hey, you did it. But we do that in a very, very casual way. There's another thing around language. So we talk about using police officers instead of policemen, that type of thing. You wonderful people instead of you guys. Well, maybe not you people, because it does sound very strange. But these little practical things, it would be good to talk in teams about what you can do about gender equality very practically.
Thank you. Your language, like you mentioned about the in English conversation, but also like in Japanese terms, there's so many like the words including the like gender meanings, like such as like fufu, or okusama, danna-sama. So I think to be more mindful about what kind of word you use is also one of the first steps to change your mindset as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you. And how about Roy?
Yeah, so
maybe you can also somehow a little bit covering the Nanami's comment here. Maybe you can see that the chat box. Nanami's mentioned that she's so more.
Yes. So yes, I'm gonna actually talk about that. Yeah. So
Yes.
confidence. Going back to what Miho talked about, confidence. I think as the only male panelist on this panel, I really want to emphasize. I think the first step is to both empower not only female but also males, because just like Ankita said, you know, gender equality is not only about bettering the life of females; it's about bettering the life of all people. And I think one huge barrier is unconfident males, because we are insecure and we feel threatened by female. But in reality, there are many things that we want to do, but because we are also, just like female, pigeonholed into many gender stereotypes and social expectations, there are many things that we cannot do either. You know, I'm sure there are many men who want to stay home and take care of their children, but they feel like they cannot. You know, and
that's
so
quite interesting.
Taking a page from Ruth Bader Ginsburg's playbook, I think one way we can start to break down the patriarchy is also to help male see the benefit for them in improving gender equality, and showing them that gender equality will benefit all humans. And the first step is for us to become more confident in ourselves as well.
Thank you. That's interesting. And yeah, we have like 5 more minutes. So if the audience who participate tonight, if you have any questions, maybe we have some time to answer the questions. And you can chat right here in the chat box. So to wait that, maybe I also want to ask Ankita that Hanawa is mentioning about the insights, like sharing the insights to Muslims. And I'm not talking about religious, but you are from India, so you explains many people has a different religion background or the cultural background. So how do you see the differences to, how can I say, the raise awareness, like on the gender equality? Do you have any differences in terms of the like religious difference or the cultural differences?
I wouldn't go as far as like saying religious differences, because for example, in Muslim religion, like women are supposed to wear burqa, which covers like every part of their body, but it's more to do with their faith. And faith is something you cannot question, right? Like faith is not logical. Faith is just faith. So if we go, I think people should not direct gender equality towards faith of individuals. So we have, Muslim role models as well in the world. Michelle Obama, and there are like so many role models who are Muslims, but yet they are working very actively in gender equality. They do understand that aspect that, okay, maybe, it is the faith that sometimes might be holding us back. And gender equality, I would say that it's more to do, it's a individual's journey as well as it is society's responsibility. So both the aspect at the same time. So for example, like Miho pointed out that we need to call it out. So, and Roy said that we, as men also need to be more confident. I know my male friends who are, who want to leave their jobs and, who want to be stay-at-home dads. And they are just so hesitant about it. They don't even feel confident talking about this to their partners. They feel, they would just open it up after, conversation in their friends, but they don't want to discuss this with their partner because they might be judged because of that. So I think asking or questioning faith wouldn't be, would it be the most fruitful approach? Because faith, you can't expect a person to change their ideas if you start questioning their faith. That might not be the most fruitful approach. But of course, every society, every country, for that matter, every home has their own rule, right? Everybody has their own rule. So as individuals also, we have our own rules. So it is just developing more empathy and being more mindful about people around you that, okay, I think that this is this, and you think that this is something else. We mutually agree to each other. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
Is not the answer to gender equality.
Thank you for answering for the difficult questions. So thank you for all the panelists to come with us and sharing your own experience and your knowledge and your experiences. So this is the end of our sessions. And if you are interested in what we do in the Global Shapers Community Yokohama, please kindly just check our QR code so that you can sign up to our mailing list. And before closing the event, I'd like to take a group photos. So if you are okay with showing your cute faces, please turn on your video and we can see your faces. And if you're not